Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight. So delighted to be joined by Showtimes Stephen Espinoza. Stephen, always a pleasure to catch up with you. The weigh-in, Errol Spence Terence Crawford, the biggest fight in boxing that we've seen for a number of years, probably since the days of Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. How pumped are you to be putting on such a tremendous fight?
Look, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I mean, that's the level of excitement we're at. There's really not that much left for us to do. I mean, obviously producing the telecast, but at this point, you can sort of sit back and like all the work is done, and you can just enjoy the atmosphere because as many fights as we've been to, as many fights as we've produced, all of us still enjoy the same buzz, the same adrenaline that fans do, that journalists do. So it never gets old.
This fight's been built off pure talent, resume, accolades. We see a lot of fights where there's hype and there has to be other external things put into it, but this fight is just sold completely on what these guys do in the ring. How refreshing is that although we do like the outside stories from and narratives of certain fights, that this is just purely who is the best fighter in the world?
Yeah, this one is substance over style. And it's not to say that these guys don't have their fan base and they don't have a personality. But the reality is, and not to make a big cultural statement, but in today's society, world society, the attention often goes to the guy who's the loudest, the most outrageous, the most flamboyant. And that's not what either of these guys is. And it isn't what they want to be. And I think that is refreshing. And what's even more refreshing is to see people respond, and it proves you don't have to be the craziest, the loudest. You don't have to be Conor McGregor, to get this level of attention, this level of support, and this level of financial success.
I saw on Bud Crawford's Instagram last night, he was asking, look, who do you want to walk me out? And Eminem responded. Have you heard anything about that? Is it confirmed? And can you tell us?
I'm terrible. I know my responses give me away. I've heard the same rumors, and I'm sworn to secrecy. But
it could be good tomorrow.
But I would not miss the ring walks. I wouldn't.
Right, let's come on to Stephen Fulton. Put on a good performance against the monster Inoue. No shame in losing to a guy of that caliber. What did you make of the fight and his performance?
Look, I'm a big Stephen Fulton fan. He's, I've had him. I've argued for him in the top 10 pound per pound over the last year already. Whether it was an off night or whether it was really that a difference in power. It was really a statement win. Look, Stephen Fulton is going to come back. He's going to have a phenomenal career and have a lot of big fights after this. But you have to give credit to Inoue. Like it was a definitive win, a very impressive win. And I think my question was, could he carry the power up? And he clearly did.
I think in boxing this year we're starting to see these big fights happen. I know yourselves at PBC we had Gervonta, Ryan Garcia. We've now got this fight tomorrow night, and then you've got Canelo Alvarez who signed to a 3-fight deal, Jamel Charlo, and then potentially further down the line maybe a Benavidez. How pleased are you with how things are shaping up? Because just when boxing seems to be just teetering along, bang, something happens.
Yeah, I think this year's been great. I think if you've been paying attention, we were pretty happy with last year as well, and even going back to Canelo and Plant, getting the undisputed fights with Charlo and Castaño, some of the unification fights we've had. So I think it's been building. I mean, this has obviously been the peak year, certainly since I've been here, and a lot of people, one of the best years I think any network has had. But I wouldn't say it's a good 2023. I think I wouldn't want it to limit it to that. I think this is something that I think we have the opportunity to continue. Like I don't see anything which says, okay, we're going to do a good run of fights for 6 months. This is how our business is going to run going forward.
Talk to me about Gervonta Davis. Obviously, last time out, mega fight, Ryan Garcia. What's next for him? I saw you sort of half teasing, Inoue as a fun fight. I mean, that would be a fun fight. What do you see in his future moving forward?
Yeah, it's a fun fight. I mean, look, the thing about boxing, people, there's always these fantasy fights, and you can 13 pounds here or there, it's the same 13 pounds that people expected Floyd to give up to go fight, Triple G. So only Inoue knows where his body can take him. But, stylistically, it sure would be a fun fight. But as for Gervonta in particular, look, he's just getting back in the gym. I'm going to see him this weekend. We've just started conversations about what could be next. I've seen the same stuff you guys have on social media. It's Isak Cruz rematch, it's Chris Colbert. Sure, those are possibilities. Nothing's really been discussed at this point. I think it's wide open. I know there was some back and forth with Devin Haney. Devin, it seemed like he was on a different timetable. He had a mandatory deadline. He had a deadline to move up, and we're just starting the process with Tank. So, that's why the Haney thing didn't happen. But that doesn't mean it can't happen in the near future, because the one thing Tank has said to us, he wants the biggest fights possible.
Well, that's good to hear. Look, Stephen, I appreciate you giving us some of your time. We don't always get to catch up being in the UK, so hopefully we can catch up after this fight. Appreciate your time.
All right, good to see you.